All right, so now we're recording. Welcome to the webinar, the new Bluetooth logger, the MX1101 temperature and humidity logger, and the HOBO mobile application. So we're going to take a look at that today. So just the agenda, just a quick overview. We're going to look at the product details where Matt is going to take you through the product details. Then we'll jump over to HOBO Mobile where I'll take you through the app. And then, as I said, we're going to have a bunch of time for questions. So feel free to go ahead and type those in. Real quickly, who's on set? If you're not familiar with us, we are located in Bourne, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. We have about 130 employees. We do manufacture everything ourselves here as well as design it. And we were founded in 1981. So before I turn this over to Matt here, what I'd like to do is just throw up a quick poll and just see who's currently using data loggers. And if you could take just a second to answer this, and whether you're using HOBOs or a different type of logger, or if you're new to loggers. We'd just like to get the poll results in here real quick. And looks like we have a lot of current HOBO users, which is great. And actually we get some newbies here too, which is fantastic too. So get a good idea of what HOBO Mobile is going to look like and how that may compare to the HOBOs that you've already been using. So let me go ahead and I'll close this down here and let me share the results. And as you can see, we got 77% of you out there who are current HOBO users and 21% who are non-users, and we got 3% we're going to try to convert you. So let me shut this down, and what I'm going to do now is I will turn this over to Matt Rivers here, and he's going to introduce you to the MX1101.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All right, excellent. So first off, thanks again. Scott, thanks for the great introduction. We do appreciate your time today, and we know everybody's day is busy, so it means a lot to us that you've come out to be part of our webinar. And one of the things I want to lead off with, and you see this, and it's just a picture, but basically I think we all feel this way, that sometimes our PC does feel just like an anchor. Well, it's time to cut the cables, as we like to say over here at Onset. And we're going to a new type of data logger where basically no computers required. No USB cables needed, no software needed, and internet not required. So let's talk a little bit about our first ever wireless mobile device. Basically, with this device, what it's going to do is going to give you the capabilities to log temperature and relative humidity. And this is our new MX1101 data logger. So when we talk about the data logger itself and we look at it, it's going to communicate basically unlike any of our devices right now. And it's communicating through a Bluetooth smart logic. And it's much less energy to send out small packets of information to an app that we've created. So what's required when we think about this? Well, the MX1101 Temp RH data logger, again, we have free HOBO mobile app. And some of the things that are required basically are technology that work with Bluetooth 4.0 technology or greater. And as you can see here right now, here's your iOS compatible devices that it will work with. So I know we've already seen some questions pop up about Android. Well, what about Android? When is it going to happen? Well, we are still in the process of developing the app. We're really close. Our guess at this point is by the end of this year, we're going to have an Android app ready to go. And what we're going to do right now is we want to take another quick poll if we could. And basically, we want to find out from the audience who uses Android and who uses basically iOS. I think it's really more about the Android at this point. So, Scott, if you can click on that. And we'll give this a second. If you could answer it, this helps us. And also what this is going to do is give us the capability when the Android app is available, we'll be able to contact you directly to let you know that it's ready to go. So it looks like, basically almost a 50-50 split. We've got about 40% of the audience here uses Android. And we're going to show those results right now. And I'm going to close it out. So as you can see, again, from our quick poll, 41% of the people on this poll are Android users. Well, we haven't forgotten about you. We will have that Android app sooner than later. So why don't we just keep moving right along here. So the next thing I want to go through with you is really go through the product details of the MX1101. And it's just a quick overview of what it's capable of. So when we look at this again, it's new wireless communication via a Bluetooth smart signal. Your range is about 100 feet line of sight. Another new feature to this thing is it's easy to deploy and offload using our free HOBO mobile app, which is accessible from the App Store and also from our website. It does have an audible alarm. It also has a pager, Find Me feature, which I think is probably one of the coolest things of this data logger itself. It does have password protection as well. So basically, you can protect the data and nobody with the app can just walk up and offload your data. Stores about 84,000 measurements on board between temperature and relative humidity. It uses 2 AAA batteries, which are user replaceable. And the batteries typically last about a year. Your temperature ranges are -20 to 70 degrees Celsius or -4 to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And your accuracy on the temperature side is about ±0.2 degrees Celsius or ±0.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Your relative humidity, the range is 0 to 99% of relative humidity, non-condensing. And the accuracy is ±2% RH from about 20% to 80% RH. LCD will show your current readings. That screen is refreshing every 15 seconds, so you see what's going on. Audible and visual. It's also got a high and low alarm threshold, so you can set this logger up to have burst mode, and we can talk about that maybe at a later date or another webinar. And again, all the firmware is all upgradable right from the app. So some of the applications we think about with this data logger, I like to put this up here. It's really, can be used in warehouses and storage facilities for monitoring museums, libraries, refrigeration, heating, HACCP monitoring, computer communications, and there's just a wide range, and we're discovering more and more as we go forward with this. Basically, for the people who are using HOBOs and the people who don't use our HOBOs right now, if you're using temperature and relative humidity data loggers on an indoor basis, you can use these pretty much in any of those applications. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to turn this back over to Scott Ellis, and Scott's actually going to pull up the product, and he's going to demo the MX1101 for you using the app.
Definitely. Thank you, Matt. Before I dive into the application here, I'm going to take advantage of the chat screen here, and I'm going to push you out a link to our website for those Android users who would like to sign up and be notified. I'll go ahead and send this out to you, and click on that link and then scroll down to the bottom of the page. You'll see the little Android guy hanging out at the bottom, and click on that link to go ahead and sign up. So we'll definitely get in touch with you. And honestly, we're getting pretty close. I'd say by the end of January we're actually going to have this available. So what we're going to do now, let me use some technology here. Bear with me just one second. What we have is a program, something called Reflector, that actually allows you to stream anything from your mobile device over to a laptop. but okay. Give me a second here. I'm sorry. When technology works, it's a great thing. When it gets a little funky, it doesn't. So give me just a second. Let me pull this back up again. And all right, it's not going to work. Let me try one other thing here. When all else fails, try a different device. And okay, so plan B. My apologies. We're going to have to plan B this here. So what I have is some screenshots here within the presentation. So let me start this back up and let me check one more thing, and that's the reason why. Hello? All right, I'm back. Sorry, folks. Somehow I got bumped off the normal Wi-Fi that I'm on, so sorry about that. So what I'm going to be able to do is stream this using AirPlay and a program called Reflector. Basically, I'm able to stream this straight to my laptop. So what you see here is we have an iPhone 6 Plus here now connected. This is the HOBO mobile app. When you fire it up first up, you're going to come into what's called the HOBO scene, and basically you have all of the HOBOs that are currently within range, and then you have other ones down here. It's towards the bottom that you may have seen over the past day or so. What we'll go ahead and do is connect to the one that I have set up for the webinar here. So you go ahead and tap on it, and it's going to go ahead and connect to the logger. And when you get into the connected scene, you'll see that there's a couple things you can do, that including you're going to configure the logger, read it out, you can see the status details. You can page it. As Matt mentioned earlier, there's a pager feature where you can beep it. And then also one of the features that we put in here too is that you can configure a password. So we'll just do test. And basically by configuring this password, it means nobody else can access your logger who may have the HOBO mobile app without your password. So at this point, what we'll do is take a look at the configure screen. And very similar to HOBOware, you're going to see a bunch of similar things where you can set a label, and this will follow your logger as well as the data file. You can set a group if you've got a bunch of these. Let's say, as you can see, we've been doing Android testing, but we'll do iOS launch for this one. It will give you your location. You can set your logging interval, which this is always kind of fun. And you get the little spinny thing here. When you move your finger, it kind of goes up and down, which is always kind of cool. But you can see your logging duration will change as well, so it'll give you an idea of how long the logger will actually run for. From here, in terms of your start logging options, you can start it now. You can start it at the next 5-minute logging interval. You can do it with a push button, or you can do it with a delayed start by date and time, which is something that we always kind of recommend, especially if you're using a lot of loggers and you need to sync all your data up afterwards. just gives you a good reference starting point. So we'll just switch this back to now. And then in terms of stop logging, you can have this so it stops when the memory fills up. We've included a feature called wrap when full, so basically it just continuously logs and logs and logs, and it overwrites the oldest data. You can stop it on a push button. You can allow for a push button restart. And again, you can have it stop on a particular date and time or after a particular period. Just hit done. In terms of setting up your temperature channels, your sensors, temperature, you tap on that and you come over and it will allow you to set alarms. So we just tap in there and you can use the little slidey bar to bring that down. Same if you want to set a low alarm, or if you want something more specific, you can just type right in there and that'll get you to a specific point. So we'll go ahead and hit done. Now you can do the same with RH, but as you'll notice there's now an audible alarm option that comes up. So you can tap this to turn it on, and basically gives you a little warning here. We didn't want you to essentially kill the battery life. You know, we see the audible alarms basically being used, you know, overnight or over a long weekend or something like that. So basically they'll beep every 30 seconds until it's either been cleared or 7 days have gone by. So we'll go ahead and enable that. And there's a couple other features here in terms of how you want to maintain visual alarms. So you can do that independently or both at the same time. The visual alarm gives you a little indication on the LCD, whereas the audible alarm obviously will make a noise. And then we have some advanced logging modes here. So we have something called statistics. So we're recording every 5 minutes, but let's say you want to do an average over that 5 minutes. You can then say, okay, I want to do a 5-second average over that 5-minute reading. This is kind of nice. So you can average the stuff out over that time frame. The one thing I will say is, as you can see here, I click maximum and minimum, and that does take away from your logging duration. So it does eat into those 84,000 measurements that we can record with. Go ahead and hit done. You can turn the LCD off. If you do turn it off, you can tap any of the buttons on the logger to wake up that LCD for 10 seconds. So, for 10 minutes. So if you want to see what's going on, and then basically that will go back to sleep. So now that we have this configured here, we'll just go back up to the top. I'll hit start, and it sent out the information, and I'm already in alarm alert mode here. So you can either clear the audible alarm by pressing the push button on the product, or you can just do it right through the app. And I'll go ahead and do that right now. And that turns off the audible alarm. A couple of the other features in here, let's say you've connected to your logger and you don't remember what it was set up for. We have something called full status details. So you can come through, get a little bit of information about your logger here, but then tap on current configuration, and it's going to show you everything that we set this up for, including what the alarm limits were and how we're handling visual and audible alarms. So that sets everything up for you there. One of the other things when you're connected to it, as we set up for a push button stop, you can also do that through the app, and we can do that by tapping on stop logging. In this case, we're just going to pause it because we're going to want to restart logging. We'll just go through and restart. So in terms of reading out the logger, let me just get out of this logger here, and we'll get something with some data. What I'm going to do is go ahead and tap on one of these other ones. Now this particular unit here, the memory is 32% full, and I'll go ahead and read this out. A full logger that is that's 100% full is going to take roughly about a minute to download. That does depend upon how close you are to it. If you're trying to communicate at the farthest ends, it's a little slower. But as you can see, I've read it out, and now down in the data files scene, at the bottom you can see there's a number 5. So basically I have 5 files that I've downloaded but haven't viewed yet. So I'm going to tap on the data files at the bottom menu. And from here, what we have is our data files. And these are basically mini plots, as we call them. You can see this outside the box. There was actually an alarm tripped on this one. And you can just kind of scroll down. If you want to look at any of these in a little more detail, we'll tap on outside the box. And in this case, what I'd like to do is just kind of turn the app. And it's a little easier to see this way. So you can zoom in by gestures, by pinching and kind of moving your fingers around. You can hold your finger down on one of the data lines, and then you can kind of slide it along so you can see the date and time as well as what the readings were. And you can move down to the other one if you so choose. The box with the 2 arrows in the middle, actually if you tap that, it just brings it back to the original graph. The 3 lines on the right-hand side, which is kind of Apple's standard sort of navigation thing nowadays, if you tap on that, you can display other channels. Initially we're just going to display temperature and humidity, but if you've done other things, we offer dew point. If you want to see when the alarm was tripped, when it was cleared, or even when the host connected to it, you can check any of those, and it's basically going to redraw or update the graph, and it'll give you an idea of when these alarms happened. Now in terms of, okay, we've got our data on here, how do we get it off? And what we do here is take the square with the arrow coming out the top, which is the share button, and we tap on that. And I'm just going to turn us back so we can see. And basically, you can share the file, whether it's XLS, CSV, text, or a .hobo file, a HOBOware file. So if you do have HOBOware, you can actually open this up and use it there. But we'll do an XLS file here, and I'm going to tap on that. It's going to generate, save it, and then depending upon what I have installed on my phone, or your device, you can either email it to yourself, you can open it up in Numbers or Excel, you can do a quick look if you want to take a quick look at the data before you share it. There we go. So you can kind of see what the data was, and then we go back and say, okay, well, let me go ahead and I'll push this over to Excel, for example. And basically this will open up Office, it'll import it, and as you can see, you've got all your data right here. And we can just jump back over to the HOBO mobile app, and again, if you want to email this, or if you do happen to use AirDrop, you can do that as well. I'll just send that. And that's essentially how, at least in the first revision, how you get your data off the phone. We're actually going to be coming out with a 1.1 release here very soon for iOS, which will include the ability to share multiple files at the same time. So stay tuned for that. We'll see that definitely before Christmas. So just coming back here to look at the rest of the app, we do have some settings which we tap on these, and you can change your units from US to SI. If you choose, we actually put this show my devices in mainly because it worked for us with we've got hundreds of loggers here, and you know, seeing and sorting through all those loggers was a bit painful at times. So when you do turn that on, it'll only show the devices that you've connected to. Now, of course, if you get another MX1101, you've got to turn that off, connect to it, and then go back and turn it on. So, and there's some diagnostics features here. So if there are any issues, and if you happen to talk to tech support, they may have you enable the logging and then potentially share this log console, which makes no sense to me, but it does to our engineers, and it really helps them diagnose any issues. So, and then finally we have the About scene, where we've got some contact information, the version history, and then in terms of the user guides and manuals, this will actually push you out to the website where you can then go in, and actually there's some helpful videos where you'll actually hear me do this all again. So we'll come back over to the HOBO mobile app, and that essentially is a quick run-through of how HOBO mobile works and how that works in conjunction with your MX loggers here. So let me turn this off, and we'll come back over here to the presentation. And at this point, here's our contact information if you want to get in touch with us. But what we have now, I've got a bunch of questions. Sorry, ran over my headset. So let's see here. We've got a bunch of folks. Thank you for sending in your questions here. And what we'll do here is dive through these and see what we can do here. The World of Concrete. We will not be at the World of Concrete. I've been there before. That's a huge show out in Vegas. We will not be there. That's something that we might look at in the future, but not this year. So as I mentioned before, Android is coming. We're getting very close to a final rev, and we're going to start going into testing probably within the next 2 weeks. So, you know, barring any bug fixing and stuff like that, I'm expecting that we're going to see this by middle of January. So definitely expect an announcement from us, and again, we will certainly be getting in touch with you. Brian has been using the products for a month, both on an iPod and an iPhone, very flawlessly. Thank you, Brian. We greatly appreciate it. It's definitely appreciated. So, Molly is asking the effect of the battery life if you keep the screen on all the time. Actually, it doesn't really affect it. You know, the LCD is going to refresh every 15 seconds, but there's some other things that are tied to that 15 seconds, like if you're using alarms or if you're doing statistics or anything like that, where you're recording potentially faster than the regular logging interval that could impact your battery life. The way that we rate that 1 year is basically recording once a minute both temperature and humidity with the LCD on. That should last you for about a year. Erica, here we go. Where do the loggers get their date and time from, auto or manual? That's actually a great question, and that's something that it picks it up from the mobile device. So if, for example, and let me pull this back up here, because we've had this case happen here before. Come on. It's not going to come back on. Okay, well, in the My Settings, it's going to allow you to set your time zone. So if you're, say, setting up all of your loggers here on the East Coast, and you're going to deploy them out in Colorado, for example, you may actually want to change your time zone within the app itself, so you can set it up for Denver, or what is it, Mountain Standard Time. So you can have your loggers actually recording on that particular time zone. So again, that will pick it up from your app. There's a setting within HOBO Mobile, and then obviously there's the main settings within iOS. So I had a situation last week where one of the folks were testing in, I don't know, it was Australia or something like that, and I was trying to change the time zone in HOBO Mobile and had to go do the iOS. So, but it is something that you can do. Chris, do you need to program each unit individually, or can you program a group of loggers at the same time? Excellent question. As of right now, as of today, in HOBO Mobile 1.0, you have to do them individually. In version 1.1, which again we're hoping to see here by the end of the year, probably within about 2 to 3 weeks, there's going to be the first step of time-saving features, which will actually include launch or start and configure time-saving features, as well as sharing features. So you'll be able to go through and set up one logger once and then say, okay, I'm going to apply this to all the next loggers. You do have to tap each logger to connect to it, and then basically it sends the information out, and then you go on and you tap onto the next one. So you know, we definitely understand that it's a little cumbersome the way that it's set up right now today, and then actually in version 1.2 we're going to be adding additional time-saving features. So those are some things that we're going to try to streamline and you know, make the user experience better. So let's see what else we've got here. This one. Okay, Molly, how do you get the data on the app over to your own computer to chart it with HOBOware software? Do you just USB it? Hopefully I showed in the sharing capabilities there, you're going to be able to send that information, whether that's through email, whether you happen to use AirDrop. You can actually email yourself the .hobo files. So those can then be opened up right in HOBOware. And actually another feature in 1.1, you will be able to download the files through iTunes when you're connected through USB. So there's a couple steps you need to take there, but that's actually pretty cool. So and the manual will completely explain that. So again, that'll be in version 1.1. Frank, do you have any cables to put it in concrete? Right now, this is the only logger that we do have, and actually we've gotten just a fantastic response from everybody. So, you know, those of you who have been using these, we greatly appreciate it. We are looking at other models, and there will be other models coming down the road where you can plug in external inputs and that sort of stuff there. So please stay tuned. Greg's got a question here. If the logger is buried in a ceiling or a wall, for example, how will the Bluetooth work through drywall? What effects does this have on the range? All that sort of stuff. That's a great question. You know, line of sight, actually, I think we've hit about 135 feet direct line of sight. From what I've been able to do, whether it's going through drywall, I've been able to communicate probably about 50, 60 feet through about 3 or 4 walls. The one that impressed me was I stuck it in a refrigerator and closed it, and then kind of walked to the front of the building, and I probably got about a good 20 to 30 feet, and I was actually able to communicate to it, offload a full logger. So the communications were a little slower than a minute, but you know, the range, I've actually been pretty impressed with the range so far. So but again, it really depends upon, you know, what sort of things you're trying to communicate through. So in terms of sharing files a different way, Greg, you're saying you use Box. Is that if that's Dropbox? Yes, you should be able to do that. when you hit the share function and when it creates the CSV or text or XLX file, as long as that app is installed on your mobile device, that'll show up as one of the sharing options here. This particular phone, I don't have a ton of apps installed on it, so. Questions just keep coming in, so thank you. So one question here, I thought I read on your website that you need a USB for setup of the loggers. Is that correct? For this particular product line, the MX1101, there's actually no USB port on it whatsoever. So you're completely wireless. So you're completely using the mobile device to communicate to it. We are looking potentially at future models that may have both, but for this one, you are completely wireless. Catherine, the temperature spec. Can you show how to set a specific temperature range instead of the slide bar? Yeah, I'm trying to get this to communicate back, and for whatever reason, I've completely lost Wi-Fi here on my mobile device. So I can't show you, but yes, you can type in the specific numbers. So if you want something such as 4 degrees as opposed to 4.55, you can type that in. So a couple questions in terms of the remote communications side of this here. You know, and can I connect to this from a remote location, or can I get an email in some sort of way? You don't have the ability to do that. You actually have to be on site to communicate to these loggers. So there's no way to receive an email alert to your mobile device. So that's where we felt putting the audible alarm on there may solve that need. You know, thinking if somebody's close and would be able to see it. But yeah, at this point, the way Bluetooth Smart or Bluetooth Low Energy is set up, we'd have to change some things in terms of running an app in the background and all that sort of stuff. So it's not a possibility at this point, but to say that may not be, you know, we might be able to do something like that in the future. So I missed it. Here we go. Omar, are there plans for loggers which can monitor inputs such as amperage like the other HOBOs? Yes, there are definitely plans for this. You know, our first step was really, you know, the hardware portion of this was kind of easy, but really it was the Bluetooth communications and the app, which was the big hurdle for us. So we'll definitely be coming out with this down the road, so stay tuned. We'll be looking at some other stuff here. Let's develop that in the next year. Yes, Frank, we're working on it, man. We're definitely working on it. I can tell you we've got some things in the works. So as far as outdoor products and say communicating to a U30 or some of our other products, we're not going to have the ability to add anything into existing products that would allow you to communicate to them, but I can tell you that you know, we're certainly looking at this. You know, we feel the Bluetooth communications is really nice for configuration, and you know, you don't have to be holding a laptop with a USB cable and all that sort of fun stuff. So you know, that's definitely something that we're looking at. And actually, Chad, you have a great question, which this came up a lot last time. Where'd you go? There you are. This came up. Can the unit be used with a laptop that has Bluetooth using normal HOBOware software? No, actually, you can't. So we have not developed an interface through the main HOBOware desktop program that would allow you to use Bluetooth. And we've had this come in a few times, so I kind of took a look, and when you folks are looking at the specifications, whether it's a mobile device or for a laptop, you need to make sure that you're looking for something called Bluetooth 4.0. And that's really the Bluetooth Smart or Bluetooth Low Energy. So I encourage you to send your requests across if you're going to want to use these with a laptop through Bluetooth. There's no plans for that right now, but you know, again, your request kind of drives some things, so please feel free to send that across. Jack, I assume there are magnets on the back of the logger for mounting. Yes. If you're familiar with any of our UX product line that we've recently come out with, the packaging is very similar. It has 4 rare earth magnets on the back. It has 2 little handles on the side that you can zip tie the logger to. So there's some convenient ways to mount this. And let's see what we got here. Sam, any intentions on Windows phones? Not at this point. I do know that there's some tablets out there that do run full-blown Windows 8, and we actually have been successful installing HOBOware onto those and then basically use USB. You wouldn't actually be able to communicate to the new logger, but you could communicate to the rest of the loggers. So, but nothing specifically for the Windows phone at this point. And let me just take a quick look through here, see if there's anything else we got. I think I hit most of these. Greg, I hope I addressed your questions there. Actually, sorry, 1.1, that is the major features in 1.1 is the launch and sharing features. There's a couple iOS 8 kind of bugs that we're fixing, and we had to tweak things just a little bit for the new 6 Plus to make it look a little better. But we're expecting actually, you know, both with Android and iOS to see releases more often. So I can tell you that the Android is going to lag a little bit. It's probably going to lag about 3 or 4 months until we can kind of come into sync on this, which we're looking it's going to be about a year until we can kind of pull that all together, just because of the two different term platforms that we have essentially developing these. So. Data assistance, yeah, data assistance. You know those greens per pound, stuff like that. Yeah, good question. If Greg, you're obviously very familiar with HOBOware, and thank you. A lot of good questions here. If you've used HOBOware, a lot of times you know that you can post-process some of your data with there's something called grains per pound, and there's a couple other data assistants that once you've downloaded your HOBO file, you can then process your data. There's nothing in that right now within HOBO Mobile, and there's no plans just yet. But again, you can send that HOBO file through Dropbox or email, and then open that up in HOBOware, and then take advantage of those data assistants. So. That's a larger long-term question in terms of how things may all come together down the road. So I guess at this point, looks like I've got everybody's questions. I just want to say thank you for everybody, and thank you for Matt for jumping in here. And again, here's all of our contact information. If you want to hit us up on social media, you get our Twitter handles there and all that sort of fun stuff. So. Just want to say thank you.
And again, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. One thing I will point out, Scott has my Twitter handle wrong. It's only 1T. But, you know, hey, I'm so popular on Twitter as it is. So, Thanks again. We really appreciate your time, and we will be contacting each and every one of you after this presentation just to make sure we did cover all your needs. So expect a phone call, and from there, we'll let you go back to your day. Thank you so much.